Today we're going to do solving two-step inequalities. This is exactly like solving your two-step equations. So we always want to do our addition and subtraction. We want to undo that first. And then our second step is we want to undo our multiplication and our division. However, it is important that we still have to switch our inequality symbol when you multiply or divide both sides by that negative number. So switching it, remember that's changing the way that it's facing. We have to do that if it has to do with a negative at all, only with multiplication or division. Alright, so here we are with our first example. We need to solve this first, then we're going to graph it on the number line below. So we have m divided by negative 3 plus 4.2 is going to be less than 13.7. So I'm going to first start with drawing my line down the center here on that inequality sign. Now I need to get rid of or undo addition or subtraction first. So to undo that addition of 4.2, I'm going to add in a negative 4.2, or we can just subtract 4.2 from both sides, correct? So once we do that, we purposely pick that number to cancel out here. And then we are left with m over negative 3. We keep our inequality sign the way that it currently was, and then we just do our math over here, and 13.7 minus 4.2 is 9.5, and that's going to be positive because we add more positives. Now we have m divided by negative 3 is less than 9.5. We're not done quite yet because we have to get over that negative 3, or we have to get rid of that negative 3. So to undo m divided by negative 3, we're going to multiply by negative 3 on both sides. So when I do that, you see that I'm multiplying. So I'm left with just an m here on the left-hand side because those purposely cancel. 9.5 times negative 3 is going to get me to negative 28.5. And now because I multiplied by a negative 3, I need to flip that sign so that it's facing the other way. So ultimately what I'm going to end up graphing is m is greater than negative 28.5. Now I'm going to go down to my number line to graph it, and I'm going to put in negative 28.5 on one of these lines. You can see that's on the centered one there in between the 28. And now I need to put a number bigger than that to the right. So to the right I'm going to go up by half. So the first line would be negative 28. The next one would be negative 27.5. And we eventually get to negative 27 right there. To the left of it, it needs to be smaller. So if we go negative 29, 29 and a half, then we would get to negative 30 right there. So those are the numbers that I'm going to use. Now I just need to graph it. So at the end, we're going to have a open circle at the negative 28.5 because it's not greater than or equal to, it is just greater than. And then m is bigger than negative 28.5, so that means it needs to be going to the right, just like that. Alright, so here we are at example 2. We need to solve and graph the solution. So you see this one looks a little bit different. This brings us back to that equation unit that we had earlier. Instead of dealing with the x minus 3 first, what I need to do is I need to take that 7.5 and I need to distribute it into the parentheses. When I do that, that gives me 7.5x minus, I have to do 7.5 and times that by 3, and I would get minus 22.5. I keep my inequality sign exactly as is and keep the number on the right hand side the same since I haven't done anything with it yet. Now that says 7.5x minus 22.5 is less than or equal to 60. Now is where I'm going to draw that line down on my inequality sign. Again, I need to cancel out addition and subtraction first. So to cancel that out, I right now have minus 22.5. So we could add the opposite here, and we would see that it is a negative 22.5. So to get rid of that negative 22.5, I'm going to add 22.5 to both sides. When I do that, I am left with 7.5x on the left-hand side is less than or equal to, we're going to get 82.5 over here. Now from there, I still have to keep solving this, so I have 7.5 times x. So to undo multiplication, I divide by 7.5. So I'm doing that on both sides. When I do that, I get x, and 82.5 divided by 7.5 gets me 11 over here. Now this time I divided by a positive 7.5, so that way my inequality symbol stays exactly as is. So I get x is less than or equal to 11. Now just to graph it, I come down here, I put 11 somewhere on that line. Remember now, numbers to the left are smaller than the number I just labeled with, so I am going to go ahead and put 10 right here. And to the right, the same distance away, I'm now going to put 12 because those numbers are bigger than 11. Now all that's left is the graph. This time I get to put a closed circle right on 11 because it is less than or equal to 11. X is smaller, so that means that my line is going to the left like so. Here we are at our last example. This one is a word problem to be a little bit different. So a scuba diver is at a depth of negative 45 feet. The diver starts moving at a rate of negative 15 feet per minute. Write and solve an inequality that represents how long it will take for the diver to reach a depth deeper than negative 300 feet. So if we just pull this apart right away, we're first trying to write and solve an inequality that represents how long it will take the diver to reach. We know that we're finding our time in minutes, so our variable is going to be m for minutes. After that, now we're getting to writing our inequality. So let's just understand what we're trying to reach. It says it will take the diver to reach a depth deeper than negative 300. So if he's at negative 300 and we want him to go deeper, that means we would want him to be at negative 305 or negative 310 or negative 400, anywhere in there. However, things that aren't going to work is like negative 200, because technically that means we're getting closer to the surface. So when we write this inequality, what we need to do is we're starting at negative 45 feet, and we're going down 15 feet per minute. So I'm going to add in negative 15 times m, because it's a per minute rate. After I multiply that by m, we then need to put in our inequality sign, because we know we're trying to get to at least negative 300, but if we get to more, that's okay. So we want to get deeper than it though. So there's negative 300, and we want to get more into the negative. So we want to look for that negative 305, negative 10, negative 400. That's what we want this left-hand side to get to. So technically, we want our left-hand side to be smaller, because remember when we get to those negative 305, negative 310, that's smaller than negative 300. So we want to put our inequality facing to the left. We want to be deeper than negative 300 feet, so that means we do not want to be at negative 300 feet, so we're going to leave it as so without the or equals to underneath it. Now it's just solving it, so we're going to put our line on our inequality. To solve this one, we want to deal with that negative 45 first, so I'm going to add 45 to both sides. Since it started out as negative, that's how we can cancel it out. So over here, this is canceled, so we're left with negative 15m is less than, well, negative 300 plus 45, that's going to be different signs, so we need to subtract. We get 255, but it's going to be negative because we had more negatives to start. Next up then, we need to get rid of this negative 15 times m, so to do so, we need to divide both sides by negative 15. So now we come back to those properties of inequalities with multiplication and division. There we divided by a negative 15. So when we divide by a negative 15, our sign has to flip. We get 255 divided by 15, which gives us 17. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I get positive 17 as my answer, with just m over on the left-hand side. So it would take us at least 17 or more than 17 minutes to get there. So m is greater than 17, or it would take us more than 17 minutes. Perfect. So now what is expected of you guys is you need to go into your Google, or not into Google Classroom, I'm sorry, you need to go into Edulastic. You're going to log into Edulastic using your school account, and there's an activity waiting for you there to finish. As you are going through that, it's just a graphing, so it is all mostly online. You shouldn't need too much paper. If you would like to use paper, go ahead and get out a scratch sheet of paper, and that is what you should be doing for the rest of the hour. All right, see you later.